Hey, I just want to warn before the actual intro starts is I do go on a bit of a rant on this one. It's very hard to organize thoughts and explanation of this game. So if you just want to skip that, there will be a chapter in the description where the run actually begins. Just skip to that if you want to skip the intro. Anyways, see you then. Fear and Hunger 2 is pretty much as confusing as a sequel can get. Now, it kept some aspects of the first game, which mainly core gameplay, which was, the strategic dismemberment, a convoluted plot, and eldritch horror. That's what the first game really did. Now, second game did change a little bit. I personally call the second Fear and Hunger. Well, the full name is Fear and Hunger 2 Termina. I refer to it as just Termina because unlike the first game, shockingly, it does not take place in the dungeons of Fear and Hunger. So, Fear and Hunger, while they are still mechanics in the game, you don't have to worry about being in the dungeon. We're way in the future. And I say way in the future because I don't really know when we're supposed to be. I don't have an exact date. But it seems like Termina is an alternate timeline type thing where it's like just past World War II or in the middle of it. They're in the two Great Wars, they're called in the series. So obviously it's World War One and Two, and so we're like right at the middle of fighting slash like right before it ends. It's not really clear, so it's like I don't know. I guess it's like 1944, 45. Guess is the best way to put it. Now, with such a massive jump in time, obviously there's not any characters from the first game returning. Okay, there's one character that returns from the first game, but he's not prevalent to this ending, and I don't want to waste all the lore all the time to explain his lore about how he got here. Anyways, he just exists. But what is even the setting of Termina? Termina takes place in the city of Prahevel, which is in some alternate fictional reality, and I think it's like Europe. It's supposed to be Europe. I don't know if it's called in game, but it's basically Europe. During what's called the Festival of Termina, and 13 contestants. It might be, yeah, it's 13 or 14 contestants, with one being the playable character. All enter this town for different reasons. Now, only 8 out of the 14 contestants are playable. The playable characters are called Daan, Abella, Asa, Olivia, Karin, Levi, Marina, and Marco. In this ending, I played as Marco. I'll show a clip of that later. Now, the other contestants that are here, but they are non-playable, their names are Tanaka, Henryk, I think it's Henryk, I don't know, Samarie, August, Pav, and Caligura. I don't say his name. Now, I'm not going to go into all their, history and why they're here or why they got called, but basically, they're all on this train ride, and they're passing through this town with the Festival of Termina happening, and pretty much all on the train they get not a group summoned to a dream, but they'll get summoned to a dream, and this dream basically has a man named Percolay explains to them that, hey, yeah, the Festival of Termina is here, and we need a winner. the biggest thing he drops, he goes, yeah, we need a winner, and it's gonna be one of you guys. So whoever can get to the base of the moon tower and before 3 days are up, you're gonna be the champ. So please do that, or Rare's gonna be really pissed. Now, Rare is who Percolate serves, and he was in the first game. He was more referred to as the trickster god, and he wasn't like explicitly named, but he was kind of there. Like, you could find texts that we now know are rare. It's like one of those things. But unlike the first game, there are considerably less endings right now. I don't know if there are plans to make more endings, but right now, this game only has 3. Now, the first game had 9, which were 5 normal endings, which was endings A through E, and then the 4 character-specific S endings. This game does have character endings, but they're a little bit more nuanced. Ending A, for context, is you ignore the festival Termina. Instead, around the map, there are these 3 giant informational computers that you can hook up and restart. And if you start all of them and find this bunker hidden deep in the woods, you basically start the birth of what they call the machine god, and basically your party gets assimilated into it, and it is essentially a new god is birthed, and it's the machine god, and everyone besides whoever was in your party escapes. They basically make it back to the train and they move on with their lives. Ending B is character specific endings, but they're all achieved the same way. So, if any of the main characters make it to ending B, so you make it to the moon tower and you're the only contestant left alive, by the end of day 3, you basically have a good old brawl with Perclay, and if you come out on top, you wake up the day after, so it's day 4 now, in quotes, and you're allowed to leave. But since you're the champion, and the champion is crowned when the only one who's left alive, no one else is there. So it's a character-specific ending, but it's just whoever's left alive. So basically, whatever playable character you have, if you win the final boss fight, you get their B ending. So that's why I say there's only technically 3. Like, yeah, technically with this there'd be 11 or 10, because there'd be 8 there'd be 10 endings, but ending B is just more of a catch-all. It's just like the default ending. So, anyways, to the point being that, so what's the difference between the B ending and the C ending and the A ending? C ending, it's actually really weird because it's essentially the B ending, but with a few more added steps. So essentially, like I alluded to before, this game has a day-night cycle of sorts. Basically, you get 3 days to try to become the champion of Termina. Each day is split into 3 time segments, and you arrive on the morning of day 1, and you have until night of day 3 to become the champion. Now, like the first game, characters, when you progress time or you do certain things, characters will end up in certain places. Their quest lines will progress along their lines, and you interfering or not interfering really influence what happens. Now, where ending B is, you're more or less generally like, basically characters can die and other things can happen, and that just, you can still become champion because you're the only one left. And then C, it's not that simple. You have to find every contestant and kill them yourself, which is a lot harder, or it's a lot simpler than I make it sound, because a lot of characters you can find. However, the issue with letting this go on too long is characters eventually succumb to what's called a moon scorch. Moon scorch is, I don't know the ins and outs of it, the specifics, the every little detail, but essentially it's like a curse that gets inflicted when eventually the characters succumb to their madness. Basically, like anyone would, each character has different tolerance of these powers. So some characters can't really handle this, and so they get moon scorched and they transform into this monstrous form a lot earlier. Or some characters can survive really long without that happening. Now, between all this is really murkiness. So, like, you have to find each character, and each character is kind of findable, and I'm going to expand on that a little bit. So, each character you can find in certain spots at certain times of day. Duh. But there seems to be a couple of characters that you can't interact with, or they're just gone for some reason that you just can't find. And what I mean by this is, so August, one of the non-playable characters, the first chance you get to interact with him is on the morning of day 2. That is the earliest possible you can interact with him, which means it is the earliest possible you can fight him and thus achieve the ending. Another character called Caligura. Caligura? I really don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's weird. He just is. I could not find him. The only way I found him is the character I played as. His name is Marco. Marco and this guy have beef, and so when you try to rest in a certain spot, there's a coin. It's not a coin flip because coin flips are back. Fun fact. But it's like a 50-50. You don't have to flip a coin, but it's a 50-50. He'll show up, and you can fight him as Marco. There's another character you can play as who he guarantee is shown if you rest in the same spot, but that's, different character. But however, outside of these two characters, the first opportunity I saw, or because I did a little research after doing this, is you have to fight his Moonscorched form at the night of day 2, which is the deadline to get this ending. So you have to go from this fight and then all the way to the Moon Tower and then get in by the night of day 2 to get this ending. And yes, that is the hard deadline. If you go into day 3 and defeat him, you will get the B ending. So ending C ends at the night of day 2. And anything on day 3 is the B ending. An A ending you can get at any time as long as you just find all the pieces or find all the supercomputers you turn on. So the difference between this ending and the B ending is you don't just get, you're the champion and you fight for your freedom. Sid Percolate goes, yeah, so that whole thing where I serve rare, yeah, that doesn't happen. I was lying the whole time. He's a little bit of a trickster like that. He's a little bit of a prankster. But he basically invites you into this cult he's in, and I don't really know the lore of their sulfur god and all that, but basically they go into it, and if you agree, you have a duel to the death with him, which as expected, results in both of you dying. And after you pass out and the ending shows, you get ending C, which is just shows the sulfur god in pure darkness, which I don't really know what the lore is there, so we're not going to get into the lore. But also in this ending, or also in this video, with all that background out of the way, I'm going to move on to the actual video. And instead of just showing the actual run, and because this run took a long time, I'm just going to cut to where I found each contestant and what I did to beat them with a little bit of voiceover like this. But I'll remind before that happens, I did stream all this on my Twitch and on my second YouTube channel. So if you're more of a YouTube person, you can follow there. And if I do a run of this or any story game, it will be streamed on there. If you're more of a Twitch person, then that will also be in the description. But anyways, let's get on to our first contestant. Tanaka is kind of a pushover. Punching him twice in the chest, and you'll have him over and done with. Now, where to find him? If you encourage him from the train to walk a little bit, you guys will come to a little secluded shed right outside the woodsman hut, and you can ambush him here, no problem. I beat your ass in. He still does 15 with a tackle? Bro, dog. Karin is our next contestant you run into. Now, she isn't much harder than Tanaka, but however, she does pack a punch because she does have a gun. So, anyways, where to find her? If you run back from where you came from Tanaka to the other side of the train and head up to the riverside, if you can dodge the gunman who's shooting at you, you'll be able to find Karin at the riverside, and here she's easy prey. So get her. All right, we're revving up. We're kicking her ass. Oh, we got her. Ladies and gentlemen, we got her. Abella is our next contestant, and you have a choice. You can either find Abella and go to Tunnel 7. By going into Tunnel 7, you will progress Abella into there, but that will lock you out of Henry. Henry, on the other hand, if you go up the river and find him in the manor before letting Abella in, you can save him over her. Now, you have to kill both of them in order to progress. However, I feel like Abella as a human is a lot more easier to deal with than her as a than when she moon scorches. So I went with her over Henry later. But she is in Tunnel 7, and it's off to the left of the Woodsman. If you just go down, you fight the dogs, and she's right. I'm going to talk about our next couple of characters. One right after each other because the fights are one after another. Now, Olivia and Marina on the morning of day 1 are found on the train. Now, there is a little hidden mechanic if you didn't know. If you do fight someone on the train and there's enough people around, after the fight you'll be restrained and tied up until day 3. So that's what's preventing you from just fighting everyone at the beginning. There's a mechanic. However, it seems like with just Marina and Olivia on the train, if you defeat Marina, it seems like Olivia, pretty much as someone bound in a wheelchair, isn't able to restrain you, allowing you to go one after another in the train. Now, Marina, as a fight, has always been more of a mage character. She's been more of a mage, and thus more utility, less physical defense, so she goes down in 1 or 2 blows. And Olivia is where it gets annoying. Olivia doesn't fight in the typical sense. She uses more status effects. However, it's a lot more poison and toxin, so meaning that if you have a white vial on hand, or if you are lucky enough to have gotten Alchemella Volume 1, which, who knows, with the book luck in this game, if you have that, you can make a mixture of red and green. That will cure anything. Or if you have a white vial, that will also cure them. There's one condition you can't cure, and if you do, the Sylvian Circle will cure it as it cures anything. But they are found on the train on the morning of day 1. So, have at it. Our next character to tackle is Osa. Now, Osa shares a lot of similarities with the Yellow Mages in the first game. That is actually what he is in Termina. Now, the weird part about this is unlike the Yellow Mages in the first Fear and Hunger, you cannot stop their ritual cast or the ritual dance by breaking his legs. That's useless. You'll see that I did it here thinking that it would do something, and in fact did not. So the more important thing to do is to hurt his scepter arm enough so that he can't cast hurting on you. If you can get through that and get through Mischief of Rats, you should be fine and be looking good. You can find him in the Church of Almir in the morning of day 1. If you just go to the confession booth, confess your sins, and then when you come out, he'll be the confessor, the guy who you told your sins to, and for there you can attack him and take him down. Gotta hit it twice. Double miss. How do I get a double miss? Or how are you continuing your ritual dance? You literally don't have... Marco! My brother in Christ, you don't have legs. How are you dancing? Cab isn't really a fight. If you can get to the base of the moon tower by the morning of day 1, he'll have a confrontation with, I forget his name, I think it's the Kaiser. And if you finish him off here, you get his soul. Simple as that. Moon tower, morning of day 1. I don't want to. Okay, if I finish him off and I don't get the soul, I'm just gonna be sad. The chaotic soul. Okay, rest for a bit. This is the first time we're progressing the day this entire time. Oh, that fucker. And here we are with Henry, or Henryk. I don't know how to actually say his name. Or, as more accurate to say in his Moonscorched form, the Gentleman. Now, it is inevitable to deal with at least one Moonscorch in this run. Either Henry or Abella succumb to the Moonscorching super early. This is day 1 afternoon, and by this time, after progressing it only once, one of them will Moonscorch. Now, Chagnar, or Abella's Moonscorch, is a lot harder to deal with. So, I went with Henry for this run, and a skill that proved to be completely overpowered is Bob and Weave. Bob and Weave increases physical evasion, or so anything that's not otherworldly, and it will dodge most, if not all, of the Gentleman's attacks, meaning that you're just free to return fire on its chest. And with the Leechmonger ring that you can pick up from the department store, you heal back all the damage he dishes out. So that is how to deal with the Gentleman. He is in the Mayor's Manor on day 1 afternoon. We come to our second and I believe final Moonscorched of this run. So there is a second Moonscorch that happens by day 1 afternoon. Her name is Samarie. Now, I believe you can find her. I did not look up where to find her, but I could not find her in the morning of day 1. But I believe you can. Maybe I just missed her. Maybe you can't. I don't know. But by day 1 afternoon, she has Moonscorched into Dysmorphia. Now, Dysmorphia actually hurts. Dysmorphia can cast Hurting on both her arms. So, meaning that if you get unlucky enough that she double hurtings with your arms, you will take 100 HP worth of damage, which means you are probably dead. So, the strategy I use to counteract this is actually, well, A, is to heal, obviously, and B, I trained Marco's speed, or agility, as it's called in this game. And so, if you have high enough agility over your opponent, you'll get an extra turn. Now, if you don't have it or you didn't train it, no worries. He actually can learn Fast Dance. So if you can spend the first turn to set up Fast Dance, like in one of the older games, you'll get an extra turn regardless. So you set that up, you heal off her damage, and then with your free action, you have to just really hope you can break one arm. That is about it. She's in the rare dimension of the church. So if you go in the basement, go to the rare circle, go over. She'll be there and she'll transform into Dysmorphia. And this is day 1 afternoon. Jesus, how much fucking health do you have, lady? Oh, thank God. The Radiating Soul. In here, in this little shack, we find Daan. Daan is not really that peculiar. He's supposed to be the doctor of the group, the medical professional, and all he wields is a scalpel. So if you can just get rid of the scalpel, which you should be able to as Marco, he's not really that powerful, and you can defeat him in a turn or two. And he is in a peculiar position. If you go to the right of the mayor's mansion, and right above the riverbank where you fought Karin, he will be right there in the shack, but only on day 1 afternoon. He will not be there in day 1 in the morning. So if you want to see him there, day 1 afternoon. Our next contestant that we fight, whose name I still can't say properly. Now, not a lot I could find tells me where this guy is. Actually, nothing really told me where he was. So in the game, I actually got this encounter on my A run. And so this is how I knew it could happen. Is because I know it's triggered. But outside of this, I don't know. There's not really a lot to tell me where he is or what he does. All you get is that at day 2 night is when he moonscorches. So he's in the sewers on day 2 night. However, if you are playing as Marco, or Abella, if you try to rest in the mayor's manor, for Marco, there's a 50% chance that instead of progressing, he will come to talk or fight, depending on what your outcome is. And Abella is guaranteed. He will show up 100% of the time if you try to rest in the mayor's manor as Abella. Now, I don't know why it's only 50% for Marco. It's not a coin toss, so I don't know why. But for some reason, it's just a 50-50 whether he shows up, at least according to the things I've read. So that's just a bit wacky. But outside of that, I don't really know. This is day one night. And this is only day one night because we tried to progress time. And he, instead of progressing time, he interrupted it. So it's day one night as opposed to day two morning. So if you're playing for someone else or as someone else that is on Abella or Marco, I guess you have to wait until day two night and take care of his moon scorched form. And here we have our final contestant, August. August is really tough. I'm going to be honest. Not because of his damage inflicted or because of anything like stats. You might not be able to heal him or maybe he inflicts you with something. He has a coin flip. Now, other Moonscorched monsters or Moonscorched beings, I understand, have coin tosses, stuff that you can lose. He is, to my knowledge, or the only one I got in my playthrough that had a coin flip as a human. And like Ragnarvalder before him, I feel that coin flip, he takes your head off with a bow. So I had plenty of lucky coins, so I just threw two, got the coin flip right, and in 2 turns I broke the bow, which nullified his coin flip, and then we took him from there. But he's on the outskirts of Perhevel, so right outside the news agency. If you go up a transition, and it's below the Behevel hop or bop, whatever it's called, the bar. In that little zone between the both them, but below the metal gate, on day 2 morning, he'll be fighting a Moonscorched villager, and if you go in, you can clean him up and get his soul there. Anyways, that is day 2 morning. I'm jumping in here once again just to explain a little bit of the final fight. So with Percolet's fight, there once again his beginning stage, Bob and Weave is very good. Bob and Weave is the greatest move because for some reason both the Lunar Meteorite and his Feather Rain are both physical attacks. So Bob and Weave, you can dodge them most of the time. And that's very important for Feather Rain because the meter does a lot of damage, I think it's in the range of 40 to 45 damage. But Feather Rain hits for 5, like 7 or 8 times. So you're going to be hit for another 30 to 40 and potentially even more. So Bob and Weave to get rid of that first section. Along if you need fast stance, but I would definitely suggest you, if you are going to do it, you're going to Bob and Weave first. Hopefully dodge everything and then set up fast stance. If you don't have a small things amulet or have trained agility enough that you just get a second turn naturally. But outside of that, in his second phase, he's going to start to use Hurting or Black Orb. He can only use once a turn. So I would suggest that on one of your turns, you heal. And the second one is where you pump in damage. So make sure to have a supply of good healing. And that will be the secret to taking down Percolet. Now, Percolet isn't a specific time. It's just you have to go to the tower, which was your objective anyways after defeating all the other contestants. So just go to the tower after defeating August and you'll be fine. Prize or pricier? A peak to grandeur and chance to reach of the illusion heights. What? Yeah, this is good. What does it even mean? I think explanations are finally in order. The moon god Rare is gone. I apologize for such an unpoetic manner of speech, but what you see in the sky is just a barren stone floating slowly in the space. That's what Termina is Rare's doings, that much is true, yes. But the powers are but faint traces left of his existence. Rare, much like the other gods, left this world a long time ago. Didn't we find that out in, it was one character's ending. I think was it Anki's ending? That the old gods just kind of like fucked off at some point. So they left this world a long time ago. You might still be able to harness some of their powers, but like the festival, it's just a faint voice from the past that grants you those gifts. Maybe this is evidence of their true strength, that even in their absence, and in some cases death, their powers still linger in this world. But without the conscience behind those powers, the traits are nothing more than any other force of nature. That force is not here to help you, to harm you, or to be worshipped by you. It just exists. That leads me to you. Humans, the common people desperately putting their faith on these obsolete powers, they are ultimately alone in this world. There's no one looking out for you if you were to return to that world. No one looking after you with plenty force ready to exploit you down to the bone. The world where you came from, where you were driven where they wanted you and what they want from you. You're just another pawn in the grand scheme of things. Just another fool led by so-called new gods who are nothing more than just dirty little sinners just like yourself. Please rephrase that. That is... what? The only difference being that they vowed their way to the top of the pyramid before anyone else had a chance. What you do call starvation probably the world's face. Horrible occurrences in history that are inevitable bumps on the path of progress. What did you call the last two great wars where hundreds of thousands, no, millions perished? They are but part of the greater scheme, the sinners just pulling their strings from the grand hall they reside in to further establish their position. That is vile, if you ask me. I trust such power to no man, do you? Maybe what they say about absolute power really is the absolute truth. Maybe order and peace are truly just a distant utopia. That's why we have chosen chaos. What you've gone through since your destined arrival on that fated day, it seems that you're no stranger to chaos. Bro, I came here yesterday. What do you mean the fated day, bro? I came here yesterday. I pulled up in the whip. Why do you argue you revel in it whenever possible? My master certainly is pleased with what he has seen. A peak to grandeur and chance for illustrious heights. They are gifts only offered to a select few, those who possess the right traits. Getting on the path of chaos as champion of Termina, you have given the privilege to join us as equals. So what do you say? Join us or return to the worthy kingdom, nothing more than a side note in world history. You say the gods are going to talk about your master. I don't know if this is going to lock us out, but I do want a little... I am a lore fiend at the end of the day, so I won't say that. Master, yes. No, it sounds redundant to trade the worship of one god to another, trading snake oil for quack remedy. Is that an actual saying? My master promises freedom like you never knew existed. I know you yearn that. See in your eyes, you wouldn't be staring here otherwise. Deep down, you know that you can never feel fulfillment. There's something gnawing at you in the back of your head. You could have had all the riches in the world, a harem of 50 lovers, admiration, respect, and yet that hollow echo still emanates from within. Answer me honestly, have you felt true joy since you were but a naive child? I do not mean a brief moment of happiness, but real joy, one that shines through even in your darkest hour. You do not need to answer. I know the answers. Humans were born to suffer. They possess the eternal hunger that will never cease to be satisfied. To fool themselves, they come with rules and routines to help pass the time, an artificial sense of achievement, self-denied attributes to determine who is good, bad, successful, or a failure. Living in a cage of their own making. If you live in a cage, you are never free. You need to tear that prison down, brick by brick. You must strip yourself of man-made morals and ethics. Rules and routines pass the time. You must stop passing the time and jump straight to the end. Death awaits at the end, your only salvation. Witness death, deal death, and finally, experience death. That is the only way. You don't want to go back as an empty shell. Join us or return to the world you came from. Oh, okay. Sure, why not? Well, isn't that glorious? You have chosen well. However, one last tribulation lies before you. All the souls you sent to our master now boiling in the presence of his never-ended hatred. Any transformation, I need to send you to his sulfuric cage. Or his sulfuric cage, excuse me. You have faced death head-on. The only thing missing is facing death of yourself. Do not fret, it is like summer and winter at the same time. Scorching sun burning your skin. Long tendrils of the coals freeze you from inside. That sounds terrible. Sounds like... That's like... And then you rise back from the dark pit, only then will you be a true representative of the cult of sulfur. These empty man-made mortals, these whole weights straining deep inside you, all carved out. You will finally know what it means to be truly free. Oh shit, we fighting? We're fighting. At equals, we're faced. I can't wait to tear you to shreds. Don't die too soon or the ritual will go to waste. Have you seen the color blood takes under the moonlight? This beautiful blend of pale red and sickly green in cold hues of blue. Time for words to come and gone. Show me violence. I've been waiting for this since day one, baby. Is that so? I guess it makes 2 of us then. All right. I have a definitely feeling like I should take out your arms. Lunar meteorite. That is... Oh, Jesus Christ, that does a lot of damage. Alright. I guess we're gonna pop Bob and Weave. Bob and Weave, baby. Youchies. Really, only 2 of them missed? Really? Alright, we are fine. Miss? Ow. Hey, can I break your arm, please? I don't want to risk it. I'm gonna use a mixture of red and blue. Youchies. Woo! Come on, please tell me your arm. Oh, that's a crit. That should break it. That doesn't break it? Okay, I'm gonna play a little risky here. Please break. And I'm dead. Well, I shouldn't have played it that fast and loose. Woo! Never mind, Marco the Goat living in there when he definitely shouldn't be. How much? Yeah. Finally! Alright, we're gonna pop Bob and Weave. And then we're revving up to fuck up his arm. I mean, if we're only gonna get hit for like 15 to like 20 a turn, we're fine. However, it's gonna take so long to break his... God damn it. Why do you hurt so much, buddy? Stop hurting. Damn. We are just dodging. Surely your arm's about to I was gonna say, surely your arm's about to break. I feel like I'm just gonna wail on your torso. I feel like that's the play. I not mean to punch your head. I'm sorry, I not mean to punch your head, buddy. He can cast hurting? Youch! Well, actually, if he can only cast one hurting a turn, I should be fine. Yeah, I know it's gonna kick. Oh, that healed me right up. Let's get it. God. I mean, I'm in some big youchies. He has Black Orb, really? I think I'm dead here. Not dead by the skin of my teeth, but I also don't think I live here. I can only really do this. And hope just he's close to dying. Youch. Did that kill him? Marco was victorious. Yes! Marco the Goat. Impressive, very impressive indeed. Yeah, I'm out, and I'm fine. Percolate is dead. Your wounds are starting to weigh on you. What wounds? I literally just chugged a light blue vial. What do you mean wounds? What wounds are we talking about? The world starts fading before your eyes. Is this ending... Oh? This is ending C, right? I believe so, right? Ew. That is gross. Yo, why he tweaking, though? Ending C. No one made it alive, right? Not a single soul returned from this trip. Yeah, because Marco died. Long News is now available in the Hex. What does that even do?